Hey everyone, it's Marla. Welcome back to Twinstrology. I hope that you're all doing well. I want to chat with you today about the next couple of weeks and the energy that I'm picking up around the Sagittarius full moon that's happening on June 14th. And what I feel is coming in is a lot of healing energy and activations for the divine masculine. And I'm going to be calling these next 8 weeks or so um, maybe a little less. Let's say from June 14th through to the Capricorn full moon, which I believe is on July 13th, and then like the couple weeks after that, really until we get to the opening of Lion's Gate. It's all about the divine masculine within us, and I'm calling it sacred warrior activations. And of course, this is going to be affecting every single one of us. So even though the full moon is in the sign of Sagittarius, where I want to start talking today is really in the sign of Aries, because there's this important conjunction going on. And that's between the planet Mars and Chiron, who are meeting up on the 15th degree of Aries at this full moon. And this is what is bringing in the activations. It's starting off this activation, and it's really bringing healing to the divine masculine, and it's also activating mystical energy within the divine masculine. What I'm getting is that over the next couple of months, we're going to go through yet another expansion within our psychic abilities. And this is related to the divine masculine energy accepting even more of the truth of multidimensionality, our connection to source, what the nature of reality is. The divine masculine has been waking up for, many years at this point in time. And I feel like a lot of what is coming in over the next 6 weeks here is there's a deeper surrender to the path that is part of this sacred warrior activation. So, part of it is healing what it actually means to be a warrior. And, that the kind of patriarchal ideas of a warrior no longer fits what is happening within the divine masculine, because they're going more towards the divine nature rather than the patriarchal nature of warrior. So it's more about protection of the earth, protection of the divine feminine, and protection of the divine feminine without controlling the divine feminine, which is a really important part of this shift because, maybe in times past, that idea of protection would come through by impeding the divine feminine from being free, meaning shutting down psychic abilities, not going with the flow, but instead trying to control everything and trying to silence the self, creating barriers over the heart. That's all the old energy. And we're transitioning out of that into this idea of protection with freedom and just being there for support and allowing our divine feminine natures to be free and to be very expressive and trusting that masculine part of ourselves to stand up in that mode of protection when needed. Now, the divine masculine also, with this incoming energy, I'm picking up that a lot of them, those that are embodying the divine masculine, are really questioning life right now and what their role is here. It's like, who am I? What qualities do I have to be of service? How can I be of service? Am I really happy? What do I need to make myself happy? Are my relationships right? Are my relationships healthy? Am I being heard? Am I hearing other people? What makes me special? These are the kinds of things that I'm picking up and hearing from the divine masculine energies. Also, through this shift, we're picking up a lot of more inner strength and power because we're all preparing to step into new pathways um, around the time of the Lion's Gate. And we're needing strength and power to be able to make these changes. And one of the biggest things is about self-determination and having the inner strength, power, and also the psychic alignment and being connected to source enough to really be able to determine our own path, to make our own trail, um, to follow our own hearts. This is part of the manifestation energy that we're working on all this year. But what's interesting about this conjunction between Mars and Chiron is that this is the degree where Mars stationed to go direct in November of 2020. If you remember, the last Mars retrograde we had was at the end of the year in 2020. Mars only goes retrograde every other year. And yeah, it was on that exact degree. Now, at the same time, we have this full moon happening in Sagittarius. And the full moon is answering to Jupiter, who is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is now in Aries as well. And I feel like that Jupiter energy is very much playing into us breaking free and moving into this self-determination role. But what I'm also picking up on is there's this degree, 23 degrees of Sagittarius, was also where we had a solar eclipse in December of 2020. So it's just interesting that we had these two things happening at the end of 2020. And what I'm being shown is that this cycle that we're stepping into of healing the divine masculine is kind of closing that cycle that we started with that eclipse and that Mars retrograde. Now, I did receive a couple messages here. One thing is that I pulled a card from my song deck that I have, and I asked what song would be appropriate for this full moon, and I got the song Back to You by Bryan Adams. So if you don't know this song, the lyrics are, "You've been alone, but did not show it. You've been in pain when I did not know it. You let me do what I needed to. You were there when I needed you. Might have let you down, might have messed you around, but you never changed your point of view. That's why I'm coming back to you. Like a star guides a ship across the ocean. That's how your love can take me home, back to you. And if I wish upon that star, someday I'll be where you are, and I know that day is coming soon." So that was an interesting song to come through. And I definitely feel like that's coming from divine masculine through those lyrics. So the other synchronicity that I got around this idea of coming back to you was last weekend. I was driving in the car and this song came on from Pearl Jam called Black. And I pulled this card, Black, before in my readings. So it's probably a song that you're familiar with. It's kind of a sad song about a breakup and, what life is like without that person. Anyways, they don't sing this in the recorded version, but in the live version, they almost always at the end sing, "We belong together." And he kind of repeats this line, "We belong together." Anyways, I was listening to this live version of the song. And it was recorded recently. It was recorded May 9th in Phoenix, Arizona, I believe. And I actually found that version on YouTube, and I'll link it below if you're interested in listening to it. But the important thing is, at the end of the song, Eddie Vedder sings, "We belong together, so I'm coming home. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for trusting. We belong, and I'm home. I belong here at home." And I've never heard him sing that before. And a friend of mine was able to find even some other concerts. I think it was a concert that happened a few nights after this concert. And there was a recording of this song up, and he didn't sing those words. He only said, "We belong together." So I took that as being a sign from the divine masculine, a message from them that, you know, there's something shifting in their energy and they want to come back. And it might just be like making contact with you, seeing you. And I feel part of the sacred warrior activation is they're needing to find their way back. And yeah, I think we'll be talking about this again when we talk about some of the other moons and things that are coming up. But yeah, that's just something interesting that I feel was a synchronicity with this information. So yeah, and what I have here on my notes is the divine masculine really knows what's going on. You know, for those of you that aren't in touch with your divine masculine, they really know a lot of what is taking place, but they're still clearing a lot of their karmic past. And the same thing for the divine feminine. And this time, these last 2 weeks of June and the start of July are very important for all of us in clearing our karmic past, whatever those things are, and relationships as well. And divine feminine are still clearing karmic relationships too, in a lot of different ways. Even if you're not with that person, for example, you might still be healing something about the connection to that person or cutting cords. Yeah, we're going to talk about this in a minute here, because we're going to talk about Venus. But before I shift into that, I do want to say about the divine masculine as well, that it's very possible that they'll be dealing with mother issues, because this Mars Chiron conjunction is in square to the asteroid Ceres and Isis, which can represent the mother issue. Ceres and Isis are also in the sign of Cancer. And with these mother issues, there could be processing of abandonment issues as well. Yeah, and Mercury is going into Gemini now, and communication is going to be a factor really during this whole time period as well. It's, you know, we kind of break up these energy reports into, you know, the moon is the most common way, but sometimes the energy doesn't shift that quickly, and it just kind of, you know, stays very similar to where it's been. So that's kind of what's going on here. So yeah, Venus is coming through. This is another very important thing that's happening. You know about the Uranus on the north node and asteroid Karma on the south node squaring Saturn. This is happening for a while, although Karma will be the one that moves away first, but that Karma will be on the south node through the summer. So this aspect is happening all year, but Venus is coming through at the Sagittarius full moon and activating that T-square. Okay, so now that T-square relates to releasing conditioning, a lot of which is coming from our past lives. And timeline collapsing and shifting is going to be very prominent over the next couple of weeks as well. And so a lot of it is going to have to do with love, but also abundance. The two things that Venus represents. So, one of the things that shifts timelines is when we step out of the conditioning and we break free of that, then we can collapse that timeline. So don't underestimate the energy that you're probably working with this year, right? Which is really clearing all your old patterns so that you can become a more powerful manifester, so that you can step into your new roles, so that you can align more with your higher self and become more multidimensional. So getting rid of those patterns, recognizing them, I'm very often consciously working on them. I mean, pretty much everybody that I'm in contact with on a regular basis is consciously working on figuring out their patterns and releasing them. But also with collapsing timelines, you might become aware of some past life situations. You might get downloads about them. Grid work is going to be very prominent as well. So you might be traveling to places where you've had past lives and connecting with the grid there. All of these things are helping collapse those timelines so that we can gain more freedom. And that is exactly the same energy as the full moon in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is our beliefs and our program, how, kind of the lens that we view things from, what we believe is the meaning of life. So the moon in Sagittarius is just really echoing that energy and, needing to expand and break out of the limiting beliefs that we have. Now, another interesting thing at this time is the asteroid Karma is on a Sabian symbol that is obeying his conscience. A soldier resists orders. So this in and of itself is a direct indication of what I just said, or confirmation, because it's like we can't just live in those patterns, which we can see as kind of being like our orders. But we have to follow our conscious. And again, this will be a big part of what the divine masculine is processing. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Sabian talks about a soldier here, because a lot of that conditioning relates to that Saturn energy, which is authority figures and the control that was placed on us by authority figures. And of course, Saturn's in square to Uranus, and Uranus has to do with our trauma. So all this year, a lot of what we're doing is healing this trauma that led to the conditioning, that led to the limiting beliefs. And yeah, with Venus being here, I feel like relationships will be playing a big part of that. And again, that energy is going to be with us, for at least 6 weeks. The other statement I want to mention is for Neptune. Neptune is squaring the full moon. And I feel like Neptune is part of the activations that are coming in, because it is having to do with the collapsing timelines. And then, sorry, I'm just kind of getting this now. And then doing the soul integration work. So when you can collapse the timelines of other lives, you can, reintegrate those aspects of yourself, do that soul retrieval, soul integration work. So Neptune is also figuring very prominently at this time. And I'm going to say it once again, through July. Now, the Sabian for Neptune is a new moon reveals that it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects. So this is the preparation for us to start thinking about our new projects. the new way that we're going to serve. And all of that will have more clarity when we get to August. So what I want to do is just draw a Isis Oracle card to wrap this up. What is the message around the Sagittarius full moon? Okay, it is the Lunar Queen, she of the celestial crescent. These ones are a little bit longer, these cards, so I can never remember exactly what they mean. I have to read it. Okay. There is a deep feminine wisdom that recognizes the importance of cycles of rest and replenishment, has essential balancing to our actions of power and demonstration. You are asked to allow this replenishment for yourself now, trusting that you are in a cycle of creation that is about to shift into a new phase. Release and enjoy the process without having to control it. Isis, as the Lunar Queen, understands the cycles of creative power and flow. Sometimes it can be hard to let go of a desire to force, control, and make things happen, to exert might and willpower to bring what you wish for into being by sheer determination, exertion, and force. Yet the vast creative power of the feminine principle is in honoring the flow with cycles of activity and rest, of releasing force and surrendering into the perfection of what is happening right now, realizing that this is actually bringing us divine manifestation and creation more effortlessly and gracefully and into greater effect. Okay, so what this card is saying is that exactly what I said at the beginning. Our divine masculine is learning how to let go and surrender. It's learning how to support the divine feminine without needing to control. So this is our ability to just step back and allow things to take place without us having to go out and push and feeling like we have to make things happen. Now, these new pathways that are opening, the new ways of serving, the new life purpose energies that are happening for us are happening because of this surrender of our divine masculine. And we don't need to push. In fact, if we try to push for things, we're probably going to find that we don't have any traction and we're just spinning our wheels and wasting time. So at this time, it's just like, don't worry about it, relax, let go. It is a time of rest. And because there's going to be a lot of activations happening this summer as well, it's like you just won't be able to push yourself because you won't have the energy. Your body it just needs rest because there's a huge ascension shift taking place at this time. Yes, this oracle comes to you at a time when you are shifting from one phase of your spiritual and creative journey into a new phase. This is time to pay deep attention to the messages of your body and allow them to guide you. Do you need to be actively creating, but from a more relaxed and allowing rather than demanding or forceful mental state? If you have been wanting to create something or feel frustrated in your creative enterprises, the Lunar Queen Oracle also contains the message for you that something creative is within you and wanting to emerge. It is stirring in your unconscious, and soon it will be reflected more clearly back to you, and you shall be able to act. But for now, have patience. You are already in the flow and want to know if this is the time to really let go and shine. Oh, if you are already in the flow, the answer is yes. Trust and know you are being guided by your own inner wisdom and supported by she of the celestial crescent, the Lunar Queen, Lady Isis. Okay, so yes, it's all about having the masculine step back. So part of what is happening, if you embody more of the divine feminine, then you are really learning to let go and just be in the flow. And this is something that we've been working on for a couple of months already. So You might be feeling that energy, that kind of inner struggle of it's really like being in a void space almost. And it's like, I don't know what's coming next. You know, you might have some minor ideas, but you don't have the full picture and you don't know how things are going to unravel. I mean, personally, that's how I feel. I know like I have a shift coming, but it's like, what shift? I have no idea. But I do know I'm going to have clarity coming very soon. The other thing is, you might be feeling like it's very difficult to plan anything. I was talking with a friend of mine and we were both saying the same thing. You know, we're going on vacation and it's like we have no idea what to plan. Nothing feels right. Nothing is clear. And so it's just like, all right, let's leave the space open because for some reason we need to just be in the flow and be ready for when the guidance comes in that we'll be able to, you know, switch. Whereas if you have everything all planned out, then it's very hard to just you switch what you're meant to do at the last minute. So yeah, that is the Sagittarius full moon energies. Um, just one announcement, and that is that my friends at Intuit are having a Kickstarter for the Intuit Tarot New Edition. And they have a lot of great deals on. If you are into tarot cards, if you're a tarot card collector or connoisseur, or if you're just beginning, these are great cards for the beginner. But I will link to the Kickstarter. Just go over there, check out the deals that they have. Maybe there'll be something interesting for you. Also, I'm doing readings still. I will be on vacation for a couple of weeks, but you can request a reading with me. And my website is twinstrology.com. Sending you all a lot of love, and I will speak to you soon. Namaste.